Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a book review of the Star Trek Discovery novel, Somewhere to Belong, by Dayton Ward. This is a kind of standalone Star Trek Discovery novel set in between the events of Season 3 and Seasons 4 of Star Trek Discovery, and I want to begin my review talking about some caveats to the review because I think that these will color how I talk about the book and Discovery. I am not a big fan of the Discovery TV show at all. I watched the first 3/4 of the first season and I quickly abandoned it. It just was not working for me, not the type of TV show I'm meant to enjoy. And so I just left it alone, and I have followed some of the books for it, and I followed the overall timeline, like the major events with the burn and Discovery going into the 32nd century. I followed all of that major stuff, but I haven't watched the TV show since the end of the first season, towards the end of the first season, and I haven't just really kept up with it too much, although I do want to read more of the books. However, I've made the goal of reading every Star Trek novel that comes out, although at the moment there's not many coming out, but I'm trying to read every Star Trek novel that comes out now, and so that's why I picked up Somewhere to Belong by Dayton Ward. So with that caveat being said, oftentimes I still read the books of Star Trek TV shows I don't enjoy because they make me appreciate the show even more. Here's some examples. I'm not a fan of Discovery, but I enjoyed the Enterprise War and Die Standing. I think over time Enterprise War I've kind of softened on it. I don't like it now as much as I did back when I initially read it. But I still think it was a well done book, and I think John Jackson Miller did a good job with the book. But Die Standing is still top tier standalone Star Trek storytelling. Really one of my favorite Star Trek novels. It's a fantastic book. So with that being said, sometimes you can tell a story as part of a series that I don't enjoy, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Likewise, another one of my favorite standalone Star Trek novels is The Last Best Hope by Una McCormack. I thought this was a fantastic book, and it really made me appreciate Picard Season 1 more, even though I did not like Picard Season 1 at all. I loved Season 3 of Picard. Loved it, and we should get tons of tie-ins for that. But I didn't really care for Season 1. And so sometimes these books make me appreciate the show more. And actually, to be honest, I think Somewhere to Belong makes me appreciate Discovery a little bit more. So this book is set in the 32nd century between seasons 3 and 4. In this time period, the crew is basically sent to go find this distress signal from this ship and this merchant vessel. When they find out that it is an alien species, the Zahians, whom they have had contact with in the past. Specifically, Tilly had a good relationship and friendship with the queen of the Zahians during, I think, the events of Season 2 of Discovery. Or maybe it was Season 1. Season 2, I believe. And so they obviously know who the Zahians are, and they've been mentioned in Picard and other things. But the Zahians, we're now really dealing with how the Zahians are in the 32nd century. And they're quite different, and they have gone through quite a lot. The burn really affected them. The burn being the major event that caused a lot of dilithium problems for hyperspace and stuff around the 32nd century. And so this book is they go to try to help the distress signal, and they realize, the crew of the Discovery realize there is an opportunity for them to rectify the relationship between the Federation and the Zahians that was broken many years earlier, hundreds of years earlier. And so that is the basic premise of the book. But as you'd expect, there are those among the Zahians who are not happy about the Discovery's appearance and do not want them to work with the crew. Do not want their people to work with the crew of Discovery. And so there are people who try to thwart Discovery, and chaos ensues, as you'd expect. From a simply enjoyment, this book really works in two ways: in the plot and in the style. When it comes to style, Dayton Ward has written numerous books for Star Trek. I think he's approaching 30 novels, or may even already be at 30 novels that he's either written or co-written with his writing partner Kevin Dillmore. So he's written a ton of Star Trek stories, and as such, he gets the basic Star Trek blueprint. He understands what it means to feel like a Star Trek story. I've never read a book of his and felt like, that's not Star Trek. He always gets that blueprint, that feel properly. So that's one good thing. And two, even though I don't like the Discovery characters, he's able to utilize the Star Trek writing method to make me overall appreciate the characters in this book. So he did a good job in that sense. Then talking about the plot in this book is really exciting. Once the crew of the Discovery goes after the distress signal, and then they're dealing with the Zahians, and then all the stuff that's thwarting them happens, all that stuff, great, well written, great stuff. I enjoyed all of that. So the plot and the style really work well here. But there is one thing, there's one thing that does drag this book down a little bit, and that is, unfortunately, the opening sequences. Like the first chapter's pretty good, but the opening sequences really are bogged down with discussions and focuses on characters' mental health. And obviously that makes sense that Dayton Ward would do that, because that's what the Discovery TV show really delved into, especially in the later seasons. But when you do that, it makes the book kind of bland and sad. It makes it boring, and it really slows down the tenor of the storytelling. And I really don't like that. Really, like, I understand that sometimes you need to bring up a mental health of a character, but when you're bringing up the mental health of all the characters, it becomes ponderous. It becomes just feeling like a chore. And I was afraid in the beginning of the book that the whole book would feel that way. And thankfully, it's minimized later on in the book. Once you get past about the first 50 pages, it's still present, but it's not like at the forefront of the storytelling. And so I appreciated that it minimized later on, but that first 50-ish pages was a bit difficult to get through, not just because I was new to the universe, because I hadn't read anything from the 32nd century, although he does a good job of playing catch-up, but just because it was just so ponderous. And speaking of the catch-up idea, you know, a lot of media tie-in writers write in such a way that you want their book is the first book you've ever read for them. And Dayton Ward does a great job with that. He even does a great job of, if you haven't kept up to date with Discovery, he does a good job of keeping you up to date with all the information you need. You know, Booker is present, the character. He explains who Booker is. Where is Saru? He explains where Saru is right now. So he does a great job filling in all of the gaps that the storytelling needs to fill in. So I really appreciated that aspect of the book. I did not particularly... There's a new character that's introduced, the character of Dr. Arbusala, and while the character was actually funny in a few sequences, overall I didn't like his presence, because he was the one that started bringing up later on in the book, bringing up the mental health stuff. Anytime he was on screen or talked about, I was like, all right, we're going back to the mental health stuff, and I just did not appreciate that quite as much. Other than that, there's not really, like, there are new Zahian characters, but there's no characters on the Discovery that are really new to the story in a major way. Of course, all the characters on the cover get major sequences. Really, all the major Discovery characters that you know get a decent amount of time here. It's a fairly well balanced. I would say it's probably Stamets's book primarily, but not even that, because Tilly has a lot and Burnham has. There's all the characters are well balanced, and so that's a good aspect of the book. Is it's well balanced. I will say, there are eagle-eye people who will probably notice there is a Galaxy Quest reference towards the beginning of the book that I thought was hilarious. I thought that, and it was really well done. It was not cheesy. It was well played in the book. It was well designed. So that Galaxy Quest reference was, I thought, really well established. So overall, I enjoyed the book. I really did. Even though I'm not a Discovery fan, and I'm still not a fan of the TV show, and I wouldn't even say I'm a fan of the characters. But I thought that Dayton Ward did a good job with what he was given with this book. And so I would give the book an overall 7 out of 10. Very well done. Pleased with Dayton Ward's work here. And so if you read the book, what are your thoughts on it? And let me know in the comments section down below if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what your thoughts on Discovery, all that kind of stuff. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.